A data set is given below. Draw a scattergram or a scatter diagram and comment on the type of a relationship that appears to exist between x and y. And they give us the sample means and sample standard deviations for each one. And they even give us the R of a negative 0.9360. So the first part is to draw a scattergram. So we could just look at these points. It's a pretty small number of points. If we see here, R is a negative, so we know it can't be A or B. It has to be C or D. So we can eliminate those. Now let's look at just a couple of the points here. Differences in C. Notice here when we're at 1, we're at 5, a little more than 5. And then at 2, we're almost to 6. But look over here at D. There's not even a point at 1. And then there's a 1 right before 2. You can blow these up a little bit, right? We can zoom in, or we can actually pull it out completely, if that helps. So it's pretty clear our answer here is C, right? Because at 1, we're a little more than 5, and at 2, we're almost to 6, which aligns with our data. Whereas D is not like that at all, right? For D, there is no value at all at 1. So it has to be that. I'm going to show you how to do this on StatCrunch, though, and maybe also on the TI. So let's start in StatCrunch first. Open StatCrunch. So if I go to Graph and Scatterplot, X is X, of course, and then Y is Y. And just press Compute. And there we go. So if we look at this, it looks pretty close, doesn't it? I can get StatCrunch to put a grid on there if I need to. If I go back into Edit and then come down here, select this horizontal and vertical lines, and then press Compute. And there's the grid if that helps. And we want to comment on the type of relationship. So looks like it's linear, and we're definitely negative. So let's see what choices we have. So we got here linear negative. There we go. Okay, now we need the equation. So let's go back into StatCrunch. Okay, so I'm going to go to Stat, Regression, Simple Linear. X is X and Y is Y. And then just press Compute. Okay, so Y is, and let's look at the rounding, 3 decimal places. Now notice what they did here. In statistics, we usually put the X term second. But the way they've got it written here, the X term is first. So just kind of keep that in mind. So it's going to be 0.742. That's my slope. And the y-intercept is 6.655. Okay, go ahead and type that in. I changed that to the negative as it should be. I can scroll over once, and there's my fitted line. And it has to be that one there. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this on the TI-8384. Should be both the same. Going to press Stat and then Enter to put the data in. If you don't have list L1 and L2, you can always go to Stat and number 5 and press Enter, and that'll set up the editor for you. Sometimes those get deleted. Let me go back in there. Let's put our data in. Be careful, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6, not 5, 6. And then so X is going to go into L1 and Y is going to go into L2. Okay, here we are. Now I'm going to go and let's go ahead and create a scatter plot. So second Y equals scatter plot 1. Make sure it's on. Toggle it to on if it's not. If you've not done this before, it might still be on off. So just toggle it over and press enter. Make sure this first type is selected. Make sure if you put it in L1, L2 that it shows X list L1, Y list L2. That's fine, that's fine. And press zoom and number 9 to get the best fit. And there we go. So that looks exactly like the one we did in StatCrunch. Here it is in case you're wanting to compare. Okay, And on the calculator, I can press trace and kind of look at each of those values and scroll over. Okay. Now let's run the regression. So I'm going to go back to the home screen, press Stat, Calc, and we have two choices. We can either do number 4, which is ax plus b, or number 8, which is a plus bx. Exactly the same equation. They've just switched around where the x is. I'm looking at my pattern down here, and they put the x first, so I'll just choose number 4. X list L1, Y list L2. We can leave frequency list blank, and we can store a regression equation. We could put that somewhere, but let's not worry about that. Well, let's actually go and do that. We'll put it into Y1. So I'm going to store it into press vars, yvars, function Y1. Completely optional, but I'll show you why we do that. And press enter. And there we go. Notice exactly the same equation we obtained earlier. Negative 0.742 is my slope, and the 6.655 is the b, the y-intercept. It also aligns with the r that was given at negative 0.9360. There's r. And we'll get to it pretty soon, but there's r squared. And notice when I press graph, what happens? That line goes through. How did it do that? It automatically stored that value into the y equals menu. So I didn't have to retype it. Completely optional though. So I hope that helps.